Welcome to Let's Get Literary. Today I'm sitting down with Diane Kane, author of Don Gateau, The Three-Legged Cat of Seborga. We're going to talk a little bit about the book and the story behind it. Of course, we'll discuss the importance of literacy and the power of reading for children everywhere. So let's meet our guest, Diane Kane. Thank you for joining us at Let's Get Literary. We are so excited to hear about your book, which is very interesting, and I'm looking forward to hearing the story behind it. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What are you up to right now? Where are you joining us from right now?
Okay, right now I'm in York, Maine. I'm on the seashore. This is our summer trailer where we are usually in Massachusetts, central Massachusetts for the winter, but we just came up last month here, so we're here until October. And so I'm enjoying walking on the beach every day.
Are you feeling now, because of quarantine, that it's so interesting how you really don't need so much, and kind of being in the trailer by the beach, you're just kind of realizing this is all you really need?
Right, it is. It is. And, you know, even when we were at home in Massachusetts for the winter there, and I was publishing the books and just, you know, really taking advantage of things like this. I do my book club on Zoom, and I do writers groups on GoToMeeting, and it's just really nice. It's nice to just kind of relax and take a step back from the busy, crazy life that I was leading. Yeah.
But still, it seems like you're accomplishing so much, even with the new normal, so to say, just
I know.
the power of technology.
It's been amazing because first of all, I published a book in January, a book of short stories. I had done the first one in 2018 with a group of friends from a writers group. We got together and we wrote a book of short stories. It's Flash in the Can. Number one, it's all flash fiction stories, short stories. And so in January, we did Flash in the Can number 2, and we had all kinds of book events and library events scheduled, which all got canceled, but it was still a great accomplishment, and we feel really proud of it. And then I went on to help a friend publish her children's book, which is Whose Cat Is That? And that's on Amazon, and that was a great fun thing to do and to help her, Phyllis Cochran. And then I went on to publish Don Gateau in English, French, and Italian. So yeah, I accomplished a lot in the last few months.
That's amazing. That's a lot. How did you get into writing, from the beginning?
I've loved writing since I was a kid. In fact, my cousin Marie, who's the same age as me, can remember my writing stories when we were kids and reading them, and she still tells me how much she liked them, and she's always been a great supporter. But I went on, to have children and to have full-time jobs. I worked as a cook in a restaurant for many years, and then I went on and did 25 years at the Postal Service. I was the mail carrier, and I did a little writing in between all those things. But when I really retired from the post office about 3 years ago was when I really got into writing, and I'm lucky to be part of a writers group of women who published authors who really encouraged me. And they're older. We're all older authors, but I've kind of got them rejuvenated again and doing things again, and so they helped me, and now I'm helping them.
It's interesting. It seems that the first books you've written were adult short stories, correct?
Right.
So what made you transition into children's books?
Well, I always wanted to do children's books, and I've had a children's story in my head for about 7 years, and it actually has to do with my cousin, who's my big supporter, and her grandson, who was born with a medical issue, and he had to spend a lot of time in Boston Children's Hospital. So I wrote a story at that time when Braden was just a baby, and he was going through all these surgeries, and his parents were there nonstop, and I wrote Braden the Brave. And I had it published with in like Snapfish. I did just a couple of them, and we did them with photographs, and I wrote the story. But I've wanted to publish that forever, and I really, illustrators are very expensive. They do a beautiful job, but I just didn't have that money. So that's been on the back burner for the past 7 years. I've wanted to do that, and I finally did. I hooked up with an illustrator, and she's working on those illustrations now, and she's a great young artist, Siri Payton, and we're going to do it by the end of the year. We're going to do Braden the Brave, so I'm very excited about that. But in the meantime, I was on Facebook, and this is one of those really good social media stories where I hooked up with a girl that I hadn't seen in 40 years. And she was from here, from Massachusetts, actually. And she was always an artist. And she went over to Paris to pursue art, and she stayed there. And I saw her on Facebook, and she draws these absolutely beautiful drawings, and she sells them. And then she moved. She still has a studio in Paris, but she moved to Seborga, Italy, where she still draws and sells her paintings. And she has a three-legged cat that she would always put pictures of Don Gateau on the social media, and everybody loved Don Gateau. And one day I just said, Linda, can I try to write a children's book about Don Gateau? And she said, please do. And everybody came on and said, oh, we'll buy the book, and Linda, you have to illustrate it. And she said, oh, yes. And I don't think she knew what she was getting into, because it is so much work to illustrate a book. And she did some fantastic drawings. And then we got into the shutdown and all that, and we were going, she was sending me drawings. I gotta show you some of them, images from Italy, and we dealt with the long distance of sending images and trying to get them published. And I did all the designing, I did the setup of them, and this is the cover. And it was a lot of work for both of us, but it's been so rewarding because the story has touched so many people. It's feral independent cat who just is really happy in his life with no home and no name. He just loves roaming the streets of Seborga, and he's happy as can be. But then he's a curious cat, and he's always looking, climbing the balcony and looking in on Linda doing her artwork, and then he takes a leap too far and he is injured. And so Linda takes him to the local veterinarian, Dr. Alfonso, and Dr. Alfonso says he can fix him up, but he's only going to have 3 legs. At this point, I think this is where, children can see that there's a time when you need to accept love and help. And, Linda helped Don Gateau in recovery, but at the end, when Don Gateau he can run and be free again, but Linda needs him. So
it's so interesting how the book has all this special meaning. Not only did it come from a true story about your friend's cat, but the fact that you found your friend on social media after so long and created this beautiful piece of work together with your talents and her talents, and this cat that she loves that's a part of her now. I love that. It's so unique, for authors to know that there's this meaning behind the book. What has been some of the feedback you've received, from readers, from children, from their parents?
Children and adults have just loved it. We have gotten so many great reviews and feedback from children. I worried at first. I thought, was it too sad for children because he gets injured? And I worked with my grandchildren. Finn is 8 and Casey is 11. And first thing I said is I told them the story, and I said, but this was before we had pictures, and I said, is it too sad? And they said, oh no, Grammy, it's not too sad. And I think that's true, that children really realize that sad things happen, but they appreciate the fact that good things can come from that, and that you can have an injury, but you can recover and you can go on and do great things after that. So they helped me a lot with the story. It was funny because it took a year. I wrote, I rewrote, and I had friends go over it and help me, and then I'd have the kids read it. And one of the verses I had where the artist was called Don Gateau, her love, and Finn said to me, Gray, do you have to use that word? So I thought, but I said, but Finn, it rhymes, because it is a rhyming story. And I said, but Finn, it rhymes. And he said, and I thought, well, I want the boys to like it too. So I changed that around, and he approved. And another thing he said to me, that because Don Gateau is the independent cat and Don Gateau is the agile cat, and he said, what is agile? So I explained it to him, and I said, should I change that word? And he said, oh no. So I really got some good feedback from them, because he liked learning that new word, what that word meant. And a lot of the people that are reading it now, it's just really blossomed out, because things that I just didn't even think of, that kids, that it touches children who are adopted, because Don Gateau has to accept love from somebody that he's, a stranger, and help. And other people say, it's great for children overcoming handicaps and obstacles like that. So it's got a really big message to it, and I dedicate it to all the uniquely perfect children of the world. So, I think it really does have a lot of meaning.
I love that. I think it's so special that you really do give these messages to children. I love that you worked with your grandchildren to get their opinion. It's not often that authors will think to show the children or any children in their lives the book, but really that's your audience, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important to do that.
I can't get over it sometimes when, authors, because I work with a lot of authors, great authors, and who have helped me a lot. In fact, one of my friends, I listen to everyone who gives me advice. And one of my friends, when I was first writing the story, I had it in my head, and I was telling it that Don Gateau was the Three-Legged Cat of Seborga, and she listened and listened. She said, have the cat tell the story. And that changed the whole thing. Don Gateau just took over, and it was his voice, and he wrote the story from then on. It was easy. I had to tweak a lot of things, but it just really came out once I let him tell the story. So I take a lot of advice, and I think that's the most important thing for writers, is to take it all, listen to it all, and then choose what you want to do with it. I did have, at the very end, I had an editor, a professional editor, look at it, and she at first said to me, because I used the lovely artist lady a lot, and she said, well, she's an artist. You might be, downgrading her to call her a lovely artist lady. So I asked Linda, and Linda said, oh no, in Italy, everything is male or female, the tables are, no, she had no problem with that. But I listened to the editor and I said, you know what, I use it a lot. So I changed it up to be the thoughtful artist, the caring artist. But in the end, Don Gateau lives with the lovely artist lady. So I think it's important, and you can really grow and improve things when you listen to feedback.
I think collaboration and constructive criticism are two very important factors in growth in general, whether professionally or personally.
Yeah.
When we were growing our organization, it was just myself and my co-founder who really had no backgrounds. I worked in the nonprofit field for 15 years already, but not in developing my own nonprofit. And my co-founder is an attorney. So really, when people came at us and said, did you ever think of going this route or contacting this organization or this company, just to take in other perspectives, especially as a writer. So not only from your grandchildren and friends and family, but from professionals in the industry. And not all of it you need to take, like you said, but just, when you've worked so hard on a project for so long, you've kind of created a version of it, right? And every time you look at it, you're looking at it from that lens. So to get
Right.
this information just from a completely different perspective, that third person or that bird's eye view, it's really crucial. And it's interesting how you're able to grow and transform in a way that, like you said, you gave Don Gateau the voice, which you may never have thought of if, this friend had said to you, wow, look at that. And for children now to see the whole story from this cat that went through the injury, that went from hesitation to accepting love, accepting a new family. That's great. And that's great for a child to see it, not from, the narrator, but from the cat to relate to it is also a whole other level now of connection that they're developing. It's really beautiful. What books that have you read as a child or even now as an adult, children's books that you've stumbled across that kind of have inspired you or have used as stepping stones to creating your book?
Oh no, I should have been prepared for that one. The Giving Tree is,
Also seen,
I
absolutely.
just absolutely love it. And of course Charlotte's Web, the old ones, but
Both of which, by the way,
they really touched me a lot.
both of which
Those,
have a level for children, but also have very deep meanings. And if children do take that extra time to understand kind of the hidden messages and the deeper levels of both of those works of literature, really, and and that's why they've remained classics, because it can be read, very quickly, just like many children's books. But when you dig deeper, they have this meaning. What does your writing space look like? Is it what I'm looking at right now? Is this where you write, or do you have a special place? Some music, candles.
yeah, it is. It is right now for the summer. I have just this little space in the trailer, and I am writing a little bit of short stories. And Linda, actually, we had a lot of printing issues and update issues, and now that we've gotten on the other side of that, she actually said to me, we could do a second one. So that's, those little things are going through my head right now. When you write a book and you put so much of your heart into it, you want it to sell. I mean, and it's not the money, it's that you put so much into it, you want other people to see it and to love it too. So right now I am in that marketing phase, and I think a lot of authors don't realize, they are shocked when they get to that phase, because it's like, oh, well, aren't people going to buy it? Well, you have to get the word out there. You really do. And it's harder right now because of places not being open. I did get to go downtown where some of the shops, the gift shops, are opening, and they were very kind to buy some of the books and things like that. But and of course I'm giving a lot away. I'm so happy to give to this project. I'm really, this is the kind of projects that I love to be involved with, and to see the book get to people, to kids that really are going to enjoy it. So, there's a lot of stuffing envelopes, putting books in envelopes, and trying to find homes where people are going to love them. And I just want to mention that we did the book in Italian and French, and that was a real challenge too. This is the Italian one. I don't have the French right now, but both the translators fell in love with the story, which really was so meaningful to me, because the illustrations will blow you away. And when I hear, oh, I like the story, it's like, oh, good, you like the story too. And they really did. And the translation is funny because it's rhyming, it can't be word for word. So they really it took a lot of effort for them to do this and to do it right. And they really worked hard on it. And like the French translator, Laurie Lafond, she said it's a story of legend, and that was before the pictures. So I was really pleased with that. And she really tried to capture what the story was. And she said that translation is always, tricky because it's not pure. But she did a really great job of it, because when I translate it back into English, I can, read it and see what she did, and it's just beautiful. And the Italian translator, Christina Callo, in the book, I use unique, and that doesn't translate well to Italian, so she is trattanti solo uno. It's among many, I am one, instead of I'm unique. And I
That's
think
so
that's just
beautiful.
beautiful. I wish I could have written that.
That's
So,
beautiful. What made you translate it into French? I understand Italian because that's where Don Gateau resides.
yeah, we are dying to get the book over there. That's been a hard one. The printing over in Europe was just really upset by all the virus and stuff, and so they haven't got them yet, but this week that's going to happen. And Linda still has her studio in Paris, and she goes there a lot, and Don Gateau actually goes with her, so he's well known in Paris as well, and so he has his fan base there. So we did French as well. And
I think you might need to do like a book tour with Don Gateau, right? And bring him along on an international tour. Sounds like he's becoming, a little bit of a celebrity.
when Linda takes him to Paris, they go on the train, and he goes on the train to Paris. So that could be another story of Don Gateau.
Oh, like the travels of Don Gateau. That's a great, these are all great. I think that showing that somebody or an animal or a human with a difference of any kind doesn't mean they're necessarily limited. And I think that's an important message to send to readers, to families, to parents struggling to maybe discuss a child's difference or unique ability, how to present that when they get old enough. This may be a great conversation starter once they read Don Gateau, to express how whether it's physical, whether it's a learning challenge, or anything, that they're still capable of accomplishing so much. Don Gateau is going to become a big role model, I think, for children everywhere.
Yeah, one of the reviews that we got, the woman said that Don Gateau is much more than a children's book. It's a tale of kindness and a lesson in overcoming life-changing challenges, as well as a voice for the worth of every life. And I foresee parents and teachers using this book as a springboard for discussions on many topics. So
Exactly.
that is exactly, what I hope is happening.
What does Linda feel now about, I know she wants to write a second book, but once she saw the final results, how did she feel about this cat that just came into her life and changed everything?
Yeah, it's so funny because it was just this crazy idea, and then it grew and grew, and then she started the drawings, and then she actually went to Paris she had a showing of her art, and that went for a week, and then there was the shutdown of Paris, and she was actually stuck there for 2 months and just got back to Italy. And that's when she started really redoing the artwork, and that's when she just put everything into it. And now, it was disappointing for over a month when we kept getting bad proofs and bad proofs. And finally, it was just like a week and a half ago, Linda finally said to me, I got one and it's beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank you, finally. So she is just, now she's on cloud nine. She's like, I'm going to get, coffee mugs and everything with his name on it and things like this, because Seborga is a beautiful, beautiful little, it's a principality. It really has a great history of its own, Seborga, Italy, and it's just a beautiful little place on the Mediterranean Sea, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. And so there's a lot of tourists that come there, and they can go and meet Don Gateau.
It's so, as you're speaking, I can relate to you on so many different levels, because our nonprofit started, unfortunately, from a colleague's death, but I was not close with her. And I was certainly not close with my co-founder, who's her husband. And we connected because my role in the school was doing communications and relaying messages from the community about how they can support the family. And I approached him with this project early on, saying, hey, let's do something in honor of your wife locally in our school. And our friendship grew, and our little library project that began as a freestanding box on campus for his children has transformed into this international nonprofit with 100,000 books collected all over the country of the US, India, Africa, Israel, Puerto Rico. And as I'm hearing you, I see, first of all, I see the glow, and I see how this is bringing you so much pride over something that really is not even your story. It's someone else's story. And that also really relates to me when I go and I speak to others about Hindi's library, and they start telling me, what is your relationship to Hindi? I was just a coworker. We were just, discussing a small project, and it kind of developed into this beautiful thing that is so much more special to my co-founder, because it's in memory of his wife. His children call all of the books mom books, anything with a photo of her. So, but don't you feel this sense of connection, even though it really wasn't your story per se, to have created something so wonderful along with Linda and developed not only a beautiful friendship, or in your case, rekindled this great relationship with her, but together, the two of you across the world united to create something. That's a really big accomplishment, and you should really be proud of it's not easy coming together from far away. At least David and I, we are a few towns over, and we would meet in person in the beginning. But you guys have been working, across
the time difference. Like, I have these great ideas at 8 o'clock at night. Oh no, I can't email Linda right now. Yeah, and we haven't talked on the phone at all. It's been email, texts, messenger. She sends me the images, and I send her the copies of the story. I say, basically, I gave her a couple ideas, but she made the pictures the way she thought, she interpreted the story, which was wonderful. And it's so fun because these places are actually there, and the kids, a lot of on this little place is in Seborga, and you can find it and go there. And I have pictures, real actual pictures of Don Gateau in these places, and when I show them to the kids, they just love them. I mean, and that he's just so adorable. And Linda, I have a picture of him looking just like that, sleeping. And so it's it is, and it's a passion. I think that if all of the stories and the projects that I've worked on have a lot of meaning, like you're saying, that it just makes it easier. It makes it
It makes you want to
like
keep going.
like destiny. It has to be just like Brave and the Brave that I'm going to finally publish next year. And I knew that it would happen, and it would happen its own good time. And I'm glad that it did happen this way, because Siri is the perfect illustrator for that. And she is just so happy about that. So I'll have to come back when I do that one.
I think that the less exciting aspect, like the marketing, which we go through also, and the promoting, it becomes that much easier when it's something you're passionate about and it has this deep meaning. And even though it does get grueling and it does take hours of researching, who do you partner with, who do you network with, what's my target audience, they're going to see this fire that I see when you speak about your book about Braden, about Don Gateau. It's visible. And I think that having that dedication to the cause, or your book, whatever it may be, for anyone listening right now or watching, just having that emotional connection to the project really makes those not so awesome portions of what needs to get done, because you do want to keep going. You want people to know about your story. You want people to learn about Don Gateau, about his journey, and you just keep going, right? Do you find that that keeps you motivated?
I've met the most awesome people, in the process of of getting the word out. I do Facebook ads, and I target, like I did some targeting to the southern Louisiana, Georgia, and I met some of the nicest people from Louisiana. I met this woman, older woman, Vicky, who works with animals, fosters animals, and we have just become great friends on Facebook, and so it is so easy to talk about it, because I do love it, and to see people's reaction and just getting to know their stories.
I want to end with a question I ask all of our guests. If you can think of, and I'll give you time, and it doesn't need to be exact, a children's book quote, or even a message behind a book that really struck you when you were a child, that has stayed with you until today.
That's a tough one. I mentioned Charlotte's Web and The Giving Tree, and I also The Jungle Book, because it's, I think that is a lot similar to the story of Don Gateau, where he didn't have a family, and he found a family that was a little unorthodox, but it works, and I think that's the kind of meaningful thing I think that we all need to hear, that you just can find love anywhere. You just need to look.
I'm a big theater fan, and Lin-Manuel Miranda said something during his speech when they won for Hamilton, and he said, "Love is love is love is love." And finding love in, like you said, unorthodox places, from families that might not look or fit the cookie cutter mold, or develop based on circumstances, it makes no difference, because to get love from friends, from family members, that's what's most important, and that's what keeps us going, and that's what keeps Don Gateau going. Seems like it's what keeps Linda going, and just that relationship connection to whomever you connect with and whoever brings you meaning. I think that's what's important. Diane, tell us where our fans and readers and viewers can find you. Give us your social media handles, your website information.
I'm on Facebook at Page of Possibilities. I started that page when, you know, I was just starting to write, and there's all possibilities. The possibilities are endless. So it's Page of Possibilities, and my website is Write, WRITE, Write of Possibilities. And that's what I think that my message, you know, when I started out, was to encourage other writers to write, and that's, you know, what I like to still do, is to encourage other writers to do it, because that's what you just have to do. And really look up Linda McCluskey paintings on Facebook, and lindamccluskey.com, because her paintings are amazing, and they take she takes landscapes and buildings that are there in Paris and Italy, and she sways them like they're dancing, and that's like you can dance in life.
What a
And
beautiful
it's
way
beautiful.
to end it. And really, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you, learning about your story, and really connecting just on so many different levels. But I'm so excited to learn more about Don Gateau, hopefully to hear about his travels on the train from Italy to France and
Yeah,
where the journey takes him. So, Diane, I thank you for your time. Thank you
I
for
think
being out
you,
with us.
Leslie. I'm so excited for you to bring Don Gateau to children around the world.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
let me know how I can get those books to you.
I will. Thank you.